Really big shoe.
Really big shoe. It used to be on Talk Shoe. And I'm buffering. What is wrong with this? Performance. Okay. Let's see how this works. Okay. So, hello, Facebook and Twitter. Who else? Oh, I'm sorry, X. It doesn't have the little bird anymore. It has a little X in the corner.
That's right. It has a little X.
Yeah.
The former bird.
Right.
No, it's the X.
Yeah. We did away with the bird.
But yeah, it's just wind out there, and when it's cold, you hit the ball.
1 minute until showtime.
It goes a little bit faster, and then with the wind, it just blows it all over the place. I mean, we were hitting balls I was pulling to the left yesterday, and I was hitting balls a lot to the right, and it was still taking them over to the left quite a bit because of the wind. We had gusts of 15, 18 miles an hour, which is pretty strong, so.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's what made it cold. And then the sun started to set, and it seemed like I could feel the temperature drop another 5 degrees. And so, but again, it's supposed to be 80, close to 80 tomorrow, 81. They're saying something like that. Yeah. And since you're up in the mountains, you won't feel a big effect of it. But
your show will go live in 5 seconds.
We're there already.
3, 2, 1.
4, 3, 2.
Blog Talk Radio.
There, now I'm on.
This is All About Wine, the talk show dedicated to the wine industry since 2009. Featuring winemaker, cellar master, vineyardist, and tasting expert, Ron.
Basically, what we're trying to do on this program is just trying to educate people and trying to make wine less confusing and more friendly.
From coast to coast and around the world.
We really have had some neat people on the program. I love that.
Post your questions and comments during the live show on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. Again, that's www.facebook.com/allaboutwinebtr. And now, All About Wine is on. Here's Ron.
There they are. Oh.
Yeah, there they are. The bus people are happy. Yeah. Well, actually, I think they're bouncing around because they're so cold. That, would do it. Welcome to All About Wine. This is live. And when you hear it on all the other stuff, when you pick it up later, we won't be live. But we are live now. It's 7:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's December the 7th, 2023. And I think that sums it up. We have a show, one more show before, next week we have our cigar guys on again. They've been on once before, but we'll be talking about some comparisons of cigar and wine and cost and stuff like that. I've talked to them a little bit before, and they are looking forward to it, as are we. So it should be fun. And then one more show before Christmas, and then. But before I forget it, I have to. I did forget it. I'll remember it later.
Next time.
I don't know. Something went through my mind. I lost. Yeah. Oh well. So we've got ourselves a guest tonight, Todd Norwood. He is a wine blogger, I guess blogger or a writer or something. I think blogger. and he has done that for a while, and he says, I'm going to make a movie. And so he did. He is the director of a movie called Gap Weekend, and this movie has been compared to Sideways, which is interesting because Sideways was a sort of a cult movie for some reason. It really caught on. A lot of people loved the movie. Some people hated it. Depends on who you were. But this has been compared to Sideways. I have to confess, I have not watched the movie. It's that's my bad. But we will let Todd tell us all about it and how he got where he is and all that. And he has been patiently waiting in the green room, so we'll have to pull him out away from all of our food and everything we keep in the green room so he can come out and talk with us. So, with no further ado, welcome to the show, Todd.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, believe me. So, Gap Weekend.
Yeah,
a dream. Well, before we get into the movie, tell us about you. What's your story about involvement in wine and your history? Just get us caught up on you.
Well, I've been, doing writing and directing movies for as long as I can remember.
Oh, really?
And then
so this isn't like a lot of just a movie.
A lot of independent films for a long time. This is the film, though, that I sort of was saying, hey, I just really want to make a movie that's about one of my passions, which is going to wine country and really kind of embracing that world. And that's kind of what Gap Weekend, how that became. And it was wanting to work with my friends and just make the experience of making the movie hopefully as fun as what I hope the movie is to watch. So and we accomplished that because I've done projects in the past where it's not as fun to make, and sometimes making movies, especially on an independent level, are just such a terrible experience. I was on a horror movie once that was just really terrible. So it's just nice to make a movie that I actually enjoyed the process because that's what it's all about. And so I've been going up from LA to kind of the Solvang area even before kind of Sideways really put it on the map. That area, and then also Paso Robles, and just really kind of that's my happy place is going up there, and so decided to make a movie all about the wine country, and I've also been doing a travel show called Living Like Locals, where we go to different countries, and whether that's beer tasting or wine tasting. And so it's sort of an interesting thing of, I don't know if it's art imitating life or life imitating art, because the main character, Gap Weekend, is basically the main character is about an aspiring travel blogger who wants to, that's what he's always wanted to do. So I guess that's the autobiographical part. The non-autobiographical part is that he just got through a divorce with his wife, who he's really known since they were little kids, because she was the girl across the street. So he's back into the dating world for the first time, and in decades, really. And he hates it. And kind of after one last failed date, he posts this kind of drunken manifesto online saying that, he just wants to find someone to spend like one weekend up in the Santa Barbara wine country, not as a date, or for sex or anything. It's just to kind of create that wonderful feeling he had being with somebody for his entire life, that sense of familiarity. And of course, somebody responds to the ad, but what he doesn't tell her is that he's really trying to recreate this trip up to wine country that he did with his ex-wife many years ago. So it's kind of his ulterior motive there. So yeah, so the part about the travel vlogging is autobiographical, but thankfully the divorce is not. So yeah, but we're really excited. We shot it a few years ago and kind of did the festival circuit, and been looking for the right home, and we finally found a great distributor, and we're starting the roll-up process now, and right now it's on Verizon Fios, on Spectrum, and then also on Amazon.
Oh wow!
So yeah, and then it'll over the next few months it'll progress into different other platforms, and also because either I'm a glutton for punishment or because I love the characters and just love wine country, is I wrote a novelization of the movie, and that's going to be coming out in January. And so that's whether that's I guess I'm doing it backwards. Usually the book comes out first and then
yeah,
it's the movie,
it does.
but,
You're right.
but yeah, I sort of said, well, hey, what if I if I had if I could add more scenes and if we what else would I do to go deeper into the characters and the kind of the world up there, and so that's coming out like I said in January. And ideally, I mean, I had such a great time and really enjoyed the movie, and the response to the movie's been so great. I would, I just love to keep making movies about wine, characters up in wine country. Marvel's got their cinematic universe. I'd love to have a wine verse or something like that.
Yeah. So you've been making movies. You've been acting in them and making movies for a long time. So this isn't.
I acted. I'm not acting in this one. I mean, I've acted in some small stuff and shorts and stuff, but I don't know how some of those people do it, where they write and direct and act in the feature films. So I don't act in the full films. We've got a great cast. Some of them I've worked with before, and then we had a great crew. The thing about it, and that's kind of how I pitched the actors to get them on board, was to say, hey, look, I can't offer you, the luxury trailer and the private jet or whatever, but what I can do is, I promise you we're gonna just enjoy ourselves up there and really just, it's almost like a vacation, a long vacation up in wine country where if we go overtime, well, then we all have an extra bottle of wine, and so it was it really did feel like, like we were on vacation. And there's actually, there's actually extra, we had to shoot pickup shots, and normally it's hard to get actors back, months later to shoot. It wasn't hard this time, because I said, hey, we're going to go to we got to go back to some of the, the locations and do some more wine tasting, and that was quite an easy sell to get them back up there for that. So,
wine country. Basically, California is wine country. What particular area did you go to? Was it Paso Robles, you say?
So the film, this film is mostly in the Santa Barbara wine region. So it's Solvang, Los Olivos. I personally love to go up to Paso Robles. That's probably my favorite in terms of like the types of wines that I love. But I love the Solvang area, and it was easy because it's very close to LA, and then we shot in Santa Barbara as well. So that was a lot of fun, and I got a chance to, when we weren't filming, to kind of act as a tour guide and take the cast to some of my favorite wineries. I think I'm although I'm not allowed to, I don't think, my wife says I'm not allowed to join any more wine clubs because there's too many good ones up there. But it is nice though when you can take some friends up there, and so it was just a great way to enjoy ourselves, but also be creative. And like I said, I've done projects where, it's such a kind of a nightmare task to do. And sometimes the films don't turn out that well because it's such a terrible task to make. But this one, I really wanted I wanted to make something that I was passionate about, and I think the cast and crew was too. And my biggest thing, I don't know, everybody has different things when they watch movies, but I love seeing movies that or rewatching them that are about places that I want to go to, and so for me it's like, well, I can't go wine tasting every day, but if I'm not able to, I wanted to make a film that, hey, this is what it feels like, to go up to wine country, and with these characters, they have this date and this, and the reason why he calls it Gap Weekend, by the way, I didn't mention it in the manifesto.
I was going to ask.
Sort of the British teenagers after their high school, many of them go off for a gap year, and kind of like a break from their life before they start the next chapter in their life. And so what this character was proposing in his kind of Craigslist manifesto, that the actress answers is like a gap weekend. So instead of a year, it's just a weekend where they can both pretend that they've been together forever. And the funny thing is, when we were shooting the scene where he posts the Craigslist ad, we had to actually write a real Craigslist ad, and the camera was close to the screen where we hit, post, and we posted it. And then, when you're shooting a film, there's so many moving parts that when we did it, we were on to the next shot, and we didn't realize that we actually did post that ad. And there were
inundated with responses.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It certainly wasn't as romantic and sweet as the character who responds in the movie. It was actually a bunch of dudes emailing saying, "Man, are you okay? You sound pretty. Are you okay? Should we call help? You don't sound very good." So when we realized that later on, we had to take the ad down. But yeah, it was up there for a good 2 hours. So I guess people do respond to these things,
Yeah, pretty well. I surprised me. I was expecting, getting female response that, ooh, a weekend, sounds like fun, but that surprised me that you had guys. You okay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess they were looking out for us. But yeah, in the film, somebody does respond, and it's it's billed as a romantic comedy, and it is, but it's not. I hope it's not it's not a very cliched. It's very. There's a lot of twists and turns, and it's kind of a drama and a comedy at the same time. So there's a lot of twists and turns in it, as well as they go around, the Solvang area and the Santa Barbara area, and have the weekend up there. Yeah. So it was. So yeah, that's the story, and
it sounds great.
Like I said, it's. I'd love to do more films up there, and stories with these characters and other characters in wine country.
What did you do to get you started in wine? What was your awakening moment, saying, "Oh, I love wine. I'm going to do wine"? Because you did a blog too, I understand.
Yeah, but I would say the biggest thing for me was obviously, just had wine, like as a kid, at like a Thanksgiving meal or something like that. But it was really going up to wine country that I just found it so beautiful and peaceful, especially living in LA, which is so crazy and hectic. And you drive up the few hours, and it's like you're in another country, really. And so it was just tasting wines up there. And I probably, the one that got me really into it, which I don't know if this is cliche or not, but this was back, it's going back years, was Justin Winery in Paso Robles, which now it feels like Justin's everywhere. But at the time, it certainly wasn't available, at least in the grocery stores and liquor stores that I saw. And just totally fell in love with it. And that's kind of that sort of those, at least for me, those heavy cabs and stuff is what I really love. But that I would say that it was going to Justin Wine and just those weekends going up there, just being like, oh man, well before there was even an idea of Gap Weekend. It was visiting wine country, and I've that's really my passion now is when I do travel, is taking a wine suitcase with me. So whether going to a different country, it's going to wine tasting and taking back wine that I can't get back in the States, just something
right.
special. In fact, I just went to Thailand, and before we left, we found out that there was a Thai wine region, and that sounds so strange, right, given the climate, but there's some big investment over there with the owner of Red Bull has a winery there. We didn't go to that one, but I'd say some of the wineries weren't that great, but there was a few that were really wonderful, and we just loved checking out and visiting the wine region. So we did bring the wine suitcase for that one, even though when we told people where we were going, they're saying Thai wine.
Thailand?
Yeah, that's crazy. But you never know where you're going to find a really good one. So yeah, but
throughout the world, there's wineries now. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, even a few years ago, I was on a layover in Texas and just sort of said, well, in Dallas, let me go to this winery, and and I'm thinking, shame on me for probably thinking this at the time, but I thought, oh well, here we go. It's just going to be it'll just be some, not great, maybe a sympathy wine, but they were amazing. I mean, truly amazing wines down there. So it's really the quality of wine and the quantity around the world. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, every state is doing wines now. You can find all sorts of wineries in any state you want to go to, but the worldwide wine market is phenomenal. I'm always amazed at the number of wineries that are in different countries, and not even to mention the states. It's
they all taste so different, and so it's just so much fun, discovering them. And although I have to say that the wine, as much as I like to think I know about wine, the one that I'm still trying to get my head around is our French wines, just because the way they designate them it's so different than how we do it here. But no, I love learning about it. I mean, I'm certainly no expert or anything like that. And I'm amazed at the people who are able to smell it and know the varietal and everything from that. But I do love just learning, whether that's at a restaurant or at a winery. It's fun to.
It is.
Yeah, you're never going to know it all, which is part of the fun of it.
And what's so interesting about it is you can have a Cabernet Sauvignon just as a wine, a grape. You can have one in Texas, you can have one in New York, and you can have one in Oregon, and you're going to see subtle differences in them just because of the areas that they're growing and the winemaker style and stuff. And it's just you can dedicate almost your whole life to just talking and discovering Cabernet Sauvignon or any other grape as far as that goes, and never run out of something to discover. It's just there are different styles and different areas, and they're everywhere. It's
sure, yeah,
phenomenal.
And hey, looks like you get to talk about it all the time on the podcast, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun. Didn't you do a blog? I mean.
Yeah,
are you still doing a blog?
it's a travel show, and we do have wine, but we also go to breweries and tour, tips and tricks on various places to do when you travel. So not completely focused on wine, but certainly that's a huge component. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. And yeah.
So you go to different countries then with your
not filming, although that would be my dream. But no, yeah, do different countries for the travel show. And like I said, we were in Thailand, but we haven't done a complete wine centered show yet. But that is that's on the radar.
Have you been to Spain or France or Italy or
France?
Germany?
Not Spain. Spain's not on there. But yes, France and Italy and Germany. Yeah.
There's your wine themes right there.
that's right. Yeah. No, and the thing about it, you go to France, I just can't believe a $5 bottle of wine, and it's some of the best, if not the best wine, it's a really, really decent wine.
Really good,
Yeah, which you're not going to get here. So far, when we do travel, we bring back the wine in the wine suitcase, and our tip is always declare it. And we've never had to pay anything more because we're just bringing back a case. It's not like we're selling it or anything. But worst case, if they ever did need this to pay more, it would be I think it's only it's not crazy amount per bottle. I mean, it's still worth it than shipping it back sometimes. The only time I've had to pay is we were actually taking wine into a country because we were going to the Bahamas. And the Bahamas, when they sell wine in the grocery store, it's so expensive that it was actually cheaper to bring a case of wine into the country and pay the duty. It was still cheaper than going to the grocery store there in town and buying the wine. So and it was better wine. So that was good. But yeah, no, my the goal is to keep shooting. Right now we're launching the film over the next few months. Like I said, it'll be on more platforms. It's on Amazon, Verizon, and Spectrum right now, but it'll be on more. And then I've shot a subsequent film which will be out next year. Not about wine, but that will be that'll be the goal. Is to do more wine movies. But yeah, there'll be another movie coming out around this time next year.
Who is the main characters in Gap Weekend?
The actors.
Yes.
So Rosie Kucher is the female lead, and the male lead is Art Hall, who's somebody I've worked with for years. Actually, he was in the lead of my last film. The previous film before this was you're gonna see a theme here, but it's called Chasing the Sun, and that one was all about that took place in Key West, and it was all about the Jimmy Buffett kind of tropical lifestyle. So and he was. Yeah, so and we I partnered with a lot of tropical bands that are that's kind of are either have worked with Jimmy or sing like Jimmy Buffett did, and they have their own set of fans, and so they did the soundtrack to the movie. And then when we launched that movie, I sort of toured with some of their shows, so that I would show the movie, and then the artists would come up and play their songs. But so he was the lead, and he played kind of this radio DJ in that one who goes on a road trip to interview all the tropical bands in Key West.
Wow.
And yeah, so that came out a few years ago, and that was a really wonderful experience. Again, releasing that, and I love working with Art. He's the kind of the perfect everyman character, and he really if you do rent Gap Weekend and enjoy it, there's a lot of similarities to Gap Week. Gap Weekend in Chasing the Sun. And it's a lot of, if you like that music too, there's some really great songs from those guys that were in it. So the theme, I guess you can tell, is the movies that I really enjoy doing are these ones where it almost is like a little vacation. That one, Key West, and then this one up in Solvang area of Wine Country. So.
Wine Country. How many movies have you directed?
So I've done 8 so far.
8. Wow.
Yeah. The first few was when I was starting out, and it was just just cheap cameras, and you use a pizza box, as I like to say, as a bounce card. But those and it works. But those never got distribution, and really not many people saw them. But that got me some work for hire. With some bigger projects, and also bigger projects for writing. I did a lot of work as a kind of a script doctor, so I would punch up dialogue for romantic comedies. That was kind of became my thing for a while, and then I started really getting more and more wanting to produce, and started to produce my own films. Of which Chasing the Sun was the first bigger one that I produced, and then I kind of learned from that, and then said, well, hey, let me really do a movie that I can control the environment and really get the actors I want to get, and have a even better time shooting, and certainly doing a film up in Wine Country, at least for actors who live in LA, it was a much easier lift than trying to get them to like Key West, which is fun, but it's a lot harder. So it's sort of been it's sort of been a full circle journey, in kind of starting out doing these scrappy little films on my own, and then getting hired for some bigger films, and working with some really recognizable names, to doing now producing and doing still much bigger films, but the films that I can control and are not, that's not going to give me a heart attack when it's done.
When you Gap Weekend, does it take place in any wineries, or is it just the facade of the wineries, or
it's all about it's all in that area. So we didn't really partner with any wineries or shoot any full proper scenes at any wineries.
Okay.
But we certainly you can, if you spot, you can certainly spot Best Parker wines on set with the characters are drinking a lot. That's one of the ones that we all stopped and enjoyed when we went up there, and all those little tasting rooms in town, and then we all as a cast and crew went up to Babcock Winery up there, but not any sort of like full scenes or partnering with them. But like I said, I had such a great experience with this and now in doing the promotion for Gap Weekend, I'm saying, gosh, I would love to go back and now do it, having this wine film under my belt. And so if there's any wineries or people in the wine world out there that are interested in a location for us or want to partner on something branding wise, let me reach out. But that's definitely something that we want to do in the future. It would be wonderful to actually rent out the tasting room of some winery and really do another movie up there. I mean,
make it part of it.
My friends who are producers, we always laugh at, not in a bad way, but laugh at these wonderful producers who kind of make a whole career out of making Christmas movies, and you see them now, especially now, on Lifetime or Hallmark, and they make such a great career out of that. And so we were joking the other day when we were on set about if we could, do wine movies like some of those other producers do Christmas movies. So it's fun.
It would be. I was thinking, does your wife go with you on these overseas trips and where Key West and all this?
Well, not on the film so much, but certainly on the trips and the travel show. The films. She used to do the older ones, but no, not so much anymore on the films. But yeah, Key West. She did go to Key West. So because who can pass that one?
Who can pass up going to Key West?
Yes, but like I said, I've been forbidden. No more wine clubs. That's
no more wine clubs.
Sure.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. I'm almost at that point myself too. My wife says we really don't need to do that. Look at all these wines we have at home. I said I know. She said we'll never drink them all. I said I know, but.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so now when we go wine tasting, whether we join a club or not, and we don't anymore, but we kind of say, is it wine club worthy? And that is to say, if you do a tasting, I mean, because you can go to a winery and there's some like amazing wines, but maybe for your own taste palette, they're not all of the different varietals they have is something that you click with. So for us, if we click with all of them, then it's like, oh boy, we're in trouble because we'll be tempted to join. But but it's hard to be wine club worthy, and it's everybody's. And the other thing, everybody's taste keeps changing. I mean, I'm into heavier and heavier cabs and Syrahs now, and that wasn't always the case years ago. And I'm sure my palate will keep changing.
That's the way it works. Which leads me perfectly. That's a good segue into what is your go-to wine? What is your favorite drink?
So the one that I would give to if I was going to a dinner party or it's a Friday night and I want to just have a great bottle. Like I'd say the hands down best bottle of my favorite is it's Justin Right Angle. And it's it's a blend, and that's my and it's not their most expensive or anything. It's not, you don't see it in the stores as much like you do the cabs, but that's my favorite. In terms of like favorite wines, there's Babcock has something called Fathom, which is wonderful, and then did a tasting at Hentley Farm in the Barossa Valley of Australia, and that wine, I just wanted to slow the experience down if I could, do slow motion in real life because it was so delicious, and I just like it was. I would love to go back there someday, and still have that bottle from the trip, and I'm so hesitant to open it until I know if and when I'm going to go back because it's just was such a wonderful experience. So I'd say those are my those are probably my favorite hands down.
So you go for the reds and blends and stuff like that.
Definitely. And years ago for the whites, loved like the J. Lohr Chardonnay, the big buttery, and not as much anymore. I mean, I love J. Lohr, but just that sort of big buttery Chard, not so much. I do love for whites. I've been really getting into Viognier recently, and just because I don't know if you have this problem, but when it comes to red wines, I really pace myself and I can enjoy the experience. But maybe because I only have white wines when it's hot out in the summertime, I tend to drink it too fast. So I find that Viogniers, for whatever reason, I can pace myself more and treat that white wine kind of like I do a red, if that makes any sense. But so
it does.
I really do enjoy it, and Fess Parker's got a great Viognier that I like too. So, but yeah, my favorite, and like I said, my favorite region is Paso and Halter Ranch, all that area, kind of near where Justin Wine is. There's just I don't know. It's just, at least for my taste, that's what I love. And I went to Napa years ago and then went back. I wouldn't even say it was fairly recently, but relatively recently. And I was just shocked at how expensive the tastings are. And it's staggering. It was shocking. Yeah,
definitely.
and the only one that's as expensive is I went up to the up in Oregon in the wine region up there, and I just again I was shocked.
Yeah.
Though, yeah, and I was just shocked at how expensive. Yeah, it was. It was pushing it where you're like, wow, it's $40 for a tasting. I might as well just buy this bottle, So it's,
yeah, that's right. To let the people know out there that's listening to that, though, the reason for that is Napa never used to be real expensive. I lived out in that area in the early and mid 70s up to late 70s, and Napa was free. Any of the wineries was free, but
wow.
But what happened was that San Francisco, so close to Napa, a bunch of people would get together, rent themselves a limo so they wouldn't have to drive, and go up to Napa. And they would start hitting the wineries one after the other, and they can just drink all the tastings they wanted and not have to worry about driving. And they wouldn't buy anything, jump back in the limo, and be taken home. And the wineries are going, wait a minute, we cannot survive doing this, because the weekends you go to any winery up there in Napa, and they'd be full of limos from people renting limos and packing it full up there. So the winery says, okay, we need to do something. So they started to charge, and it was a minimal charge, but it was enough to cover the cost of the tasting. Well, that progressed in the fact that their wines started to become more expensive, and so therefore their tastings raised to accommodate the cost of the wines and stuff. And now you're spending anywhere from 25 to even 100 in some of the wineries for a tasting. And most of them do give you credit for the bottles if you're going to buy anything, but still it stops these freebie, let me get drunk limo rides up there. And so that's the reason that it started to go up. And
that makes sense. Yeah. And well, of course, now up in Napa, you see the bachelorette parties and everything everywhere. Which actually reminds me, when my friend got married a few years back, he said, you can plan the bachelor party. And I planned wine tasting in Napa, which normally is not something for a guy's bachelor trip. In fact, when I was Googling, bachelor parties in Napa, Google was sort of like, did you mean bachelorette party? But so I was, the whole bachelor party was making fun of me for planning it. And then they were saying, oh, and you brought a wine suitcase too, and then, cut to the end of the bachelor party weekend. And they were saying this was the best trip ever. And they're trying to fit all their wine bottles into all their different suitcases, and I'm just sipping mine up in the and they're all on their phones with their with either their girlfriends or their wives, trying to justify all these bottles they bought. Like, well, no, honey, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. So, I consider that a personal win
definitely
convert them in that way. So.
Well, Napa, you mentioned the cost and going up there. Napa is so expensive. Every time I tell anybody, and at the winery, I used to talk to people all the time. Everybody has to go to Napa at least once. You have to go. It's like Disneyland or Disney World. You have to go at least once. It doesn't mean you have to go back every year, or you have to have season passes. Same thing with Napa. You don't have to go up there all the time. You have to go and experience it at least once. And then you go to Sonoma while you're there. You jump over the hill. It's a mountain. Yeah. And you visit Sonoma. And if you plan your time right, you can make a trip up to Mendocino and visit some wineries up there. But then you're done with them. Then you start going to Livermore, and you start going to Paso Robles, which is also one of my favorites, by the way. And you go to the Temecula. There's lots of other areas you can go to. You're going to get great wine. You're not going to spend $50 for a tasting, and that's only for one flight, and they got it broken down to numerous flights now too. And but once you've experienced Napa, Sonoma, you've experienced it. And you can take some pictures to remind you. But then you start visiting the wineries that are still trying to get themselves out there. Last time I was in Paso Robles, I was visiting. I drove west out of Paso Robles into the hills there. And there are so many little, small boutique wineries there that the people are doing the tastings on a couple of barrels with a board across the top of it out of their garage. And
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, it was wonderful. And they have 2 wines, maybe. And the wines were reasonably priced, and they were phenomenal. And I did the same thing. I came back with more wines than I should have. And they don't have clubs. They don't have, all this other stuff. But They just have good wines that the family makes, and you're so excited about it. I mean, it's just, Napa is fun. You really, I used to go quite a bit because it was free back when I lived in Concord up outside of San Francisco, and I used to go quite a bit, but I used to do a lot more to Livermore and places like that because it was closer and it wasn't as expensive and as snooty, if I may say so, because Napa sometimes can get that way. And so, it's
well. This is actually great. I'm taking notes. I have never been to Livermore, so I'm writing that down to go there. And I knew of Mendocino, but I've just never been up there. But no, Livermore, I don't think I've ever heard of. So that's definitely going to be on my list now.
East of San Francisco, east of Oakland, and Concannon and Winty were the first 2 wineries that were in Livermore, and they've been there forever and ever. And the last time I was there, I think there's like 40, 50 wineries in the area now. It's just like everything in California. They explode.
Yeah.
But what happens is all these people, all these areas let's use Livermore for an example. And it happens all over California. But Livermore, Winty and Concannon were buying grapes from all these little independent growers all over the place. And so they would get their grapes and they would make the wines from them. Well, these little independent growers go, well, I think I'm going to open up a winery. And so all these people who would who would grow grapes and sell them would now decided, okay, we're going to grow grapes and make a wine and have our own winery. So therefore you have 40 or 50 wineries pop up in the area that used to just grow grapes. Now they grow grapes and make wine. And so that's why you have so many wineries in there. And there's, but Livermore, oh yeah, definitely. If you've never been there, you owe it to yourself to go up and see the area and visit some wineries up there. Yeah,
I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's the sense of discovery. It's those small ones I love, and I think your description of Napa as Disney is so on point because it is fun to go for one. To just go to something like I don't know Sterling or that does feel like an attraction at a resort or I forget the name of it. There's the castle one that's right near there.
What's the name of that? I can't think of it. Or even Buena Vista is the very first one there. You have to visit that.
Yeah.
And
they're a lot of fun, but it does feel like like a Disney type thing versus.
You've got a train, you've got horseback riding, you've got balloons, it's go once, have a lot of fun, enjoy it, but then you've been there. Same thing with Disney or Disney World. Disneyland or Disney World. You go once, you have a lot of fun, but then you can say, "I've been there."
Yeah. So, is Livermore your go-to region now, or do you?
When I go to California, I usually try to hit Paso Robles and Livermore. And it depends on who I'm with. Last time, I took my wife out there and we went to Napa just so I can show her this is Napa. We also went up to the foothills and a lot of wineries on the foothills there that were really interesting. They didn't exist the last time I was in California for any length of time, and over the last number of years, there's a bunch of them that popped up in east of Sacramento and going toward Tahoe in that area there. So there's a lot of wineries up there now. But yeah, I think Livermore is one of my favorite regions. And actually Mendocino too. Mendocino's really came in, and Mendocino has a lot of biodynamic wineries. They have a lot of organic. They have a lot of regenerative practices going on in the wineries up there, and all that. And Mendocino is just sort of
interesting,
leading the charge on some of that stuff, it seems to me. I've talked to wineries up there, and they have really embraced some of that stuff, I think, more so. A lot of wineries are going organic, which is not unusual, but going a step further to the biodynamic and, the different categories that you can get now, it's Mendocino is a place to go to discover these and hear about it and all that. So
I'll have to definitely check that out. The other one I used to go to years ago, and I haven't been, but I've heard it's exploded, or at least exploded as much as it can in its small area, is Temecula, outside of LA, south of LA.
Yeah.
And I know I always enjoyed it when I went years ago, but like I said, I've heard it's really grown. I just haven't been in a long time.
I think Temecula has an AVA now.
Oh wow! Okay.
If I remember correctly, I think Temecula just got certified with an AVA. A specific viticulture area for them, and so what started to put them on the map was the film Sideways, and then after that, because that was filmed in Temecula area, and after that, they started to put more and more wineries there. So, it has, from what I understand, gotten really quite busy there. All of California's gotten busy, though. Let's face it. I mean, there's the number of wineries in the country. California has like 70% of them, something like that. I mean, it's just crazy, the number of wineries that are in California.
Yeah, no, and there's still. I mean, all the West Coast. I want to go up at some point to Washington for wineries up there, but one wine region at a time.
Yeah, I know. It's just and don't join any clubs.
No, yeah. I went to a friend's wedding in North Carolina about a year or so ago, and there was some great kind of really nice wineries in that area, and of course, and I'm thinking to myself, oh wow, this is a brand new thing up there. Of course, it's not. I mean, they've been doing it since Jefferson's time in the Virginia, North Carolina region. So, but just it was just really nice, and you kind of get off the beaten track. But I say that though, but then if you go on the weekend anywhere, even a place that's not famous for wine, you're gonna it's going to be pretty packed at a winery. Everybody likes to go to.
Whatever winery you go to, Well, once you finish your California explorations, there's all sorts of places around the country that are phenomenal, especially Texas. You already hit on that, but you need to explore that more. The hill country of Texas was named by Wine Enthusiast magazine as the best wine region in the world a couple 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I would have years ago, but I don't doubt it now. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got the Midwest region. It's Pennsylvania all the way over to Missouri. Missouri has really exploded too. So it's
really,
Missouri is actually Missouri was one of the biggest wine producing countries, or wine producing states in the country before Prohibition, and Prohibition just sort of killed it. But then California took over.
Wow.
But Missouri is stepped back up, and they've got a lot of wineries around there now. In Iowa, I'm originally from Kansas City, so I've had the opportunity to visit a lot of wineries in the Midwest there, and there are just some phenomenal wineries that are springing up. Some great winemakers and some quite innovative in styles and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see that too. So now.
And that is fun to discover new regions and that are undiscovered. I love that, and also like talking to a winemaker, and there's a science to it, obviously, but there's also an art too, and that's really kind of inspiring when you talk to a real passionate winemaker.
Oh yeah, and these people, and that's the thing about the wine business too. These people love to talk about what they're doing. It's not like, oh, that's a secret. I'm not going to tell you that, or no, I don't discuss that. It's just like, yeah, I'll tell you anything you want. What and because they know they've got a special product there, and they know they're doing well, and they like people to enjoy it, and that's what's so interesting and fascinating about the wine industry, because all the winemakers and all the people love to talk about that stuff. So, and
it is. It's a wonderful subject, that's for sure, and pastime, really.
Yes. You can spend lots of time doing that stuff. Yeah. The Gap Weekend now. Okay, give us a summary. Gap Weekend is out. You can get it on Amazon. And you said
Amazon or Spectrum, if you've got Spectrum or Verizon Fios, and that's with Amazon. You just if you've got Amazon Fire TV or whatever, you can just say Gap Weekend into it. In our kind of technology forward lives now, but so right now it's Amazon, Verizon, Fios, and Spectrum. And then over the next few months, it'll launch on other platforms. But this is where you can find it right now, and you can rent it for streaming or purchase. And it's like I said, it's a fun movie. It's about trying to somebody trying to recreate the love of his life, and it's a comedy, and it's also all about loving wine and loving traveling.
There you go. And it's about an hour and a half long, and
that's right.
It's available just anywhere. So people jump out there and check it out. And
definitely.
If anybody's in the wine business, I was just going to say, if anybody's has a winery or something, reach out to Todd. He would love to use your place for his next film.
Yeah, so if you can find me, you just search my name, toddnorwood.net, or just Google Gap Weekend, and it'll come up. So
there you go. Okay.
But yes, Amazon, Verizon, and Spectrum for now, and like I said, in a few months, we'll have the book out, and then we'll continue it on a bunch of other streaming platforms as we go through February and March.
All right. And Mike, do you have any questions or anything for Todd before we say goodnight to him?
I don't think so. No, just enjoying it. Took quite a few notes. That's basically what I do in the background. So no, I appreciate it though. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good hearing that.
All right. So, all right. And you're still doing your travel blog?
Yeah, that's called Living Like Locals. That's the new version's on YouTube right now. That's probably the best way you find it, or just Google Living Like Locals. That's living with an apostrophe after the end, like living like locals.
Living like being cute. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's where you can find all my stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Living Like Locals, and then Gap Weekend. So anyone out there, you can check any of those out. And if you need to get a hold of Todd for any reason, then again, just go through Gap Weekend or Todd Norwood, Norwood.
Yep. That's right.
.net, is
Yep.
it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
And
Todd,
you'll find all the info.
thank you
Thank
much
you for having me here.
Oh, it was enjoyable, fun talking with you, and best of luck when you come out with your next wine-based movie.
Yeah.
Then get in touch with me. We'll do this
I
again.
definitely will be sure to reach out, and I will try to check out those recommendations with Livermore and Mendocino. So I'm always looking for new recommendations. So thank you.
I think you'll like both of them. It's from what you said, they got some wines that might suit your taste range there also, which is always fun. So
great.
So thank you for joining us tonight. It's been quite pleasurable, and have yourself a good holiday season coming up here. And hopefully we'll talk to you when your next movie's out.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too now. Thank you very much. Bye now.
Bye now.
Okay.
There we go.
And he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, a busy boy. He's traveled extensively. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
You know, Australia and Europe and all that stuff. Sounds like a lot of fun. So again, Gap Weekend. I haven't watched it yet, but if he said Amazon, maybe I'll check out Amazon and see if I can find it on that. And because I didn't want to sit down and look at it on the computer really, because it's awkward watching movies on the computer, and it gets uncomfortable sitting here in front of it too. Okay, so we are done for another week. I remembered Happy Hanukkah. It starts today, and for the next 7 days we have Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. And so for all of you Jewish listeners out there, have yourself a wonderful Hanukkah, and we're coming up with a cigar show next week, and two of our guests are Jewish. So if you have any questions about that, you're not Jewish, then I'm sure they would be more than happy to answer, especially Mike, one of the guys in the cigar. He is really quite knowledgeable about the Jewish faith and religion and all that stuff. So that's always a possibility for you. Yeah. He's fun to listen to. He said that something I didn't know, that the Jewish heritage goes through the female of the family. Mm-hmm. It is, yes, goes through the female of the family. If your mother can be Jewish and you were born, you're Jewish. But if your father is Jewish and your mother isn't, and you're born, you're not Jewish. It goes through your mother.
Isn't that interesting?
You would have to convert then. Yeah, I thought that was. He says it's all through the mother, all through the female of the family. That's matriarch type ascending down on that. So I thought that was very interesting. It's the female's the one. And what really surprises me when he said that, I said, but you see all these old Jewish rabbis and everything else, you never see a female rabbi. And he says, because you don't have to. They all know and respect that the female is the ones where the lineage comes down. So, now, I didn't know that. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So, happy Hanukkah for all of you out there. And thank you, Todd, for being a guest. And we're done for this week.
Yeah. It's December 7th, for those of you keeping score. And we will be back next week, which is December 14th, live at 7 p.m. with a cigar show, special cigar show. We have Cap and cigar guys.
If you missed, let me cut in. If you missed this episode, Saturday,
Oh.
Flightline Radio will rebroadcast this at 7 o'clock, or at noon.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. Check out Flightline Radio. Mike is live for 2 hours right before it comes on, so check him out also. So, I'm sorry. I thought of that and I didn't want to miss it. So, you were saying who the guys were?
Yeah. So next Thursday on the special cigar show, we've got the cigar guys, of course, Cap, Craig, Mike, Phil, and possibly someone from Texas. Yet to be named.
Yeah. Jeez, I wish I could think of his name.
Yet to be named.
Driving me crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll hear about it between now and Thursday. But tune in and join us in chat. I'm sitting here monitoring Blog Talk Radio's chat and, of course, Facebook and Twitter and everything. Just start on the comment section, respond, whatever, and I'll pick it up here. And, if it's a question, I'll break in and say, hey, I got a question. And knowing Cap, he'll try and interrupt it and not let me ask the question. But
that's true. Yeah. That's true. That's why
we're not here to answer questions. Keep going.
You're not here to answer questions. We're here to talk about cigars.
I might be able to sit down in my chair and have my ashtray, my cigar, a little bit of a libation if I decide.
That was an old clip from a long time ago. Just sit there and have a libation.
And tell people to leave me alone. Yes. Go away.
Go away. Leave me alone. That was funny, but check out their podcast.
Yeah, and also Cap and Phil, the two that's going to be on next week, are the two that do the 1st and 15th, which is also available on Flightline Radio. Yeah. You can look it up directly, or you can just listen to it on Flightline Radio every Wednesday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., which is probably the easiest way to do it. So
yeah, it has been, but they're also on Apple iTunes, and they're constantly talking about the station and everything, and listening to it. I'm just sitting and driving on to work, and I'm like, no, that was funny.
I know they are. They really are. Yeah, so it should be a good show next week. Should be very interesting.
Yeah, kind of take a departure for a show for cigars. Yeah.
Right.
Well, very good.
And they've been wanting to come back, so this should be fun.
Yeah. All right. Have a good week and good weekend, and be safe. And we will talk to y'all next week. Thank you. Thanks for everything. Tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Be safe out there.
Thank you.
This concludes tonight's broadcast of All About Wine with your host, Ron. For show information, links to All About Wine on Twitter and Facebook, or to be a guest on this show, visit the show website at www.allaboutwinebtr.com. Archived shows are available for download on iTunes or on our show page at blogtalkradio.com/allabout.